It was over 20 years ago or so where did my part in helping a couple to prepare for marriage. And when we got to the rehearsal on Friday night, the couple came in and I was talking to them before the rehearsal and they said, well, we finished our preparations on Tuesday. I said, well, what'd you do? She says, well, we went bungee jumping together. So we both jumped at the same time. We're all geared in on our own things, but we both took the jump at the same time. You know, when you go bungee jumping, you might start at the same time, but one's heavier than the other, and it's kind of going like this. And finally, they ended up in the ground, and then they gave a hug, and now they says, now we're ready to get married. I thought, good. I'm glad it's not a requirement, you know. But in a way, I thought of this because I think it has something to say about relationships, you know. Sometimes we jump into them with a lot of feeling. Sometimes we jump into them kind of slowly and cautiously. But either way, there ends up being a lot of feeling involved. And rightly so, because we're human beings, and human beings, we're not robots. We have feelings, and feelings are what make our relationships what they are. Sometimes for the better, and sometimes that's for maybe not so. Real love involves feelings, whether it's love in a marriage or a friendship or love in a community of people, even folks we don't know. Love is always involved in that, and so are feelings. Having said that, we also know that love is more than feelings. Love also takes a decision, even when we don't feel like it. St. Paul talks about that in the second reading a lot. You never hear St. Paul say, love is a feeling. You don't hear that, do we? We hear this. I'll just mention a few. Love is patient. Now, I got to tell you, when patience is called for, too often I'm not feeling patient. You know, calm, serene, at ease. Oh, sure, take as much time as you like. I'm usually like, when patience is being called for, I'm more like, come on, let's get it together here. But I know from experience that isn't helpful. So what I do is I talk to myself. And I say, take a deep breath. Kind of calm down. Things are going to be okay. It's all right. Just be at ease. And that helps. What also helps is, at least over time, is when I think how patient God is with me. It's like, oh yeah, okay, now there's that. It's like, well, if he can be that patient with me, maybe I can try to be a little bit more patient with others. It helps. Or the one about where it says, love does not seek its own interest. Now, we all know that we love in relationships because we do have an interest in it. We want to love and we also want to be loved. And if the being loved part, it has to be there some way. But if that's basically why we go into a relationship, I suggest that it's not going to last very long. I'm only in this relationship for what I can get out of it, and once I can't get anything more out of it, or once I've used that person, then I'm gone. Well, okay, then you're not going to have very many friends to begin with. But rather, when we love other people, we do it for their sake. I am here for you. What can I do for you? That's what love says. And hopefully, from others, we get some return. But I'm here for you. That's what that means. And it reminds me of John 3:16, where it says, God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, that those who believe in him might not die, but might have eternal life. He sent it because he was interested in us, that we might not die, but have eternal life. It's a good pattern to be there for others. I'll just talk about one more. Love does not brood over injuries. I worked in Marriage Encounter for 5 years, some years ago, and they had a thing where they said, there's no gunny sacking, meaning that you take your hurts, we all have injuries, we all have hurts, and you kind of throw them in this proverbial gunny sack. You hurt me here, you hurt me there, you say, okay. Then one day, when the time is right, you take them and you dump them out. You remember when you did this and that hurt me, and remember when you did that and that hurt me, and that hurt me, and that hurt me. So, love does not brood over injuries. In Marriage Encounter, they used to say, anything that's over 24 hours old is ancient history. Take care of it right away. I think that's a bit idealistic, but to brood over injuries is destructive. To work towards forgiveness is life-giving and loving. And after all, isn't that what God does with us? He doesn't brood over our injuries and hold them against us. He sent Jesus that he might save us, and he forgave. Still forgive. So are we called to do. Talk a lot about a lot more of those things, but it also includes loving people more in a community, as a group, an organization, in a church, for whatever church we belong to, like this one, and doing things for them. In Jeremiah it says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. And I'm going to send you out to be a prophet. But watch out, because they're going to persecute you. But don't worry, because I will deliver you. I'm there for you. But go out and speak to all these people that you don't even know. Put your life on the line for them that you don't even know. Or in the gospel, Jesus comes to his home place. Oh, good, I'm home. Whew. Things are okay now. No, but they're going to throw him over the brow of the hill after he said something they didn't quite like. I don't know how I got out of that, except, you ever been in the presence of a person who just carries a lot of personal power? Not power over, but personal power? I suspect that's what happened. Just kind of walked out. It's like, But he didn't stop loving. He went on to other places and loving even until his death. And so we are called to do. And I know that everybody in here has done that. Just one quick example was a guy named William Stafford. He was a pacifist and a poet in the last century. He died in the 1990s. And he wrote one time, he says, when I was about 10 years old, I came home from school and I told my mom that we had 2 new kids in school. And a bunch of kids gathered around them in the playground. And these 2 kids were black. And they started taunting them and calling them names and threatening them. And his mom says, well, Billy, what did you do? And Billy says, I went and stood by them. He said, I was sick to my stomach thinking I was going to get beat up along with them, but finally nobody did and they left. But isn't that what we're called to do? Isn't that who we're called to be? It's to people who stand by those we don't even know. Love isn't just based on feelings. It takes a decision, and I know that we all know that. Not only that, it also says when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I reasoned as a child, I thought as a child. But now that I'm a man, now that I'm older, I've grown up a little bit, I've put away childish things. So here's a question. Whatever age we are, what have I learned about love so far that enables me to love, to do loving things, even when I don't feel like it? What have I learned about love so far that enables me to do loving things, even when I don't feel like it? Partial answer to that, for me, is to say that I've learned more about the love of God that I've experienced through prayer and all, as well as through other people. It's a partial answer for me. That enables me to love when I don't feel like it. In the end, there are three things that last: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love.